morning, everyone, on a wonderful Easter Sunday. Thank you, Lily, for stirring and inspiring celebratory music. So welcome to everybody here in the sanctuary and joining us virtually. I'm David Adams, representing the Board of Trustees of the Monte Vista Unitarian Universalist Congregation. I have just a few announcements before we get underway with our service. There will be an Easter egg hunt today, after the service. People of all ages are invited. Kids, people who have kids, people who wish they were still kids. Yeah. Room 3, Robert? Okay, all right. If you would like to learn more about Unitarian Universalist churches working together to further our principles and values, think about attending the UU Pacific Southwest District Assembly. That's a mouthful. That's an annual gathering. Some of you have been to it in the past, or some of us have been to it. It will be held this year at the UU Church of Ventura, April 26, 27, and 28. And there's more information available online through the Community Connections email. Every Sunday, the kind-hearted and dedicated members of our hospitality team, some of which are sitting over in the choir, yay. They do us all a great favor by brewing up fresh hot coffee on a cold morning and hot tea and setting out munchies of various kinds for us to enjoy at the conclusion of our service. They are always looking for other kind-hearted people to pitch in and help. So if you like treats and coffee, and who doesn't, right, then please lend your support. You can talk to Terry McGuire or Debbie Skirto or Shirley Ussery and lend a hand. Let's see, what else do we have? Our annual May congregational meeting is scheduled for Sunday, May 19. I know you're all waiting for that with bated breath, but it will be there soon enough. It's almost April, right? Finally, and as most of you know, our annual spring pledge drive is underway. And here's someone who can give us an update. David, would you like to do that? Sure, why not? Okay. As David just said, our pledge drive is in full gear. We're making good progress. Many of you have already turned in your pledge card, the friendly green pledge card. We need, many of you, as I say, have turned these in for the upcoming year, and we need to get these as soon as we can so that we can formulate a budget to be reviewed at our May 19th meeting, and then, of course, that would take effect in July. As you know, the promises that each of us make to help support the church is what makes this kind of service possible. So, so please see me after the service. I've got some of the pledge cards and some of the information sheets, and I'd be happy to hand those out to you. And now we'll hear from a member of our congregation who will tell us why they pledge. David, would you like to do that? Why not? I'm here. This is a one-man show today, folks. I'm sorry about that. Okay, so the topic is why I pledge to MVUUC. Well, I could say that I pledge every year due to sheer inertia, because after all, I've been doing it continuously since about 1995, I think, or 4 maybe. I don't need applauses. Just fill out your pledge card, okay? But I won't say that that's the reason, because it's not. So I didn't grow up in a religious household. My parents were themselves raised Presbyterian, but they almost never went to church when I was young or even after I'd gone off to college. So unlike some who find Unitarianism after moving away from the faith in which they were raised, I didn't have a faith background to reject. Looking back now, I count that as generally a plus. But it was something of an issue in my youth. Let me briefly explain. The family who lived next door to us in my childhood, the Montoyas, were from Mexico. Dedicated Catholics, they had 3 children. Loretta, the eldest child and my age, was enrolled by her parents in a parochial school where, unsurprisingly, she received a significant amount of religious instruction. I, by contrast, attended the local public schools. Loretta and I and the other kids in the neighborhood spent years playing together, often outside in a large and nearby vacant piece of property. I recall many warm summer days with games of hide and seek, keep away with a frisbee, or the now politically incorrect cowboys and Indians. We did that a lot. I remember discussions also about life and God with Loretta on and off as we grew. To me, her faith and its rituals were often puzzling. Why did she have to say prayers in school? Why were the nuns so mean? Wasn't religion supposed to be about love? But the nuns kept telling Loretta about hell and how she'd go there if she was bad. I didn't like the idea of hell. It was cruel and scary and definitely unloving. Our conversations, punctuated with thoughts like these, would often come to an abrupt end. "You think too much," Loretta would always conclude rather sternly, and repeatedly instruct me that I should just trust in the angels and in heaven. We would lay on the grass, gazing at the clouds drifting across the sky, Loretta so sure of what was up there and why that it was all too matter-of-fact for her. I was the dreamer, the theorist, my mind full of science fiction stories I read with wonderment, replete with ideas about the beyond and the meaning of it all. Was God really up there somewhere? I loved the idea of blasting off in a rocket to explore the universe and find out the answers for myself. Loretta didn't like rockets or science. She remained content to accept the picture of the universe she had been given. To her, I was a skeptic, a doubting Thomas, someone who just wouldn't be satisfied with what he was told. About that, she turned out to be quite right. Over time, I realized I simply couldn't accept what Loretta believed. My mind was just too crowded with questions, and it still is, many decades later. When years ago I came to MVUUC and learned about Unitarian thought and the 7 principles, I discovered myself in them. I realized that I've always believed in the free and responsible search for truth and meaning, our 4th and my favorite principle, and the joys that that search can bring. And that's why I support our UU Church still today. Because in these times, especially in this moment, the world needs a faith that stands for respect and inclusion, equality and reason. A faith that honors the accomplishments of science rather than demonizing them as tools of conspiracy. One that accepts the multiplicity of religious traditions instead of trying to stamp them out in the name of just one truth that all must accept. No doubt Loretta would disagree with the path my spiritual life has taken, but I rather like it. I welcome the fact that as UUs, it's okay for us to ponder and search and maybe even to think too much. So that's my story, and if you're like me, you'll support MVUUC. Thank you. And now we'll start our service with Reverend Maggie Yenoki.
I don't know, David, maybe you should come up and do the rest. You're doing good. Good morning, everyone, and happy Easter to everyone that celebrates. We are here to open our service with a ringing of the bowl. We ring it 3 times. Once for our ancestors, our founding members, and the Tongva and other indigenous peoples whose matrilineal societies care deeply for this land we stand on and now share with them, and as we name it home. We ring it to welcome all of those gathered here, and all of those joining us on Zoom today. We're grateful that you're here with us, and for any who might be watching the recording later. We honor our staff, our visitors, our friends, our sustaining members, and our soon-to-be members. please come next week for our new member ceremony. For our partnership congregation in the Philippines, and on this last day of Women's History Month, for every woman in the world. And we ring it for all beings who walk with us on this spiritual journey we share. And as we await tomorrow, we will ring it for all who are in need of this faith community, this place we create, and we will come and walk beside them on this incredible path that is ever unfolding. Chatting with my husband as I was putting the order of service together, he goes, you know what I always remember on Easter singing, "Morning Has Broken." So let's do one verse of that. If you would please stand and join as Lily plays for us. The first verse only, "Morning Has Broken."
Morning has broken like the first morning. Blackbird has spoken like the first bird. Praise for the singing, praise for the morning, praise for the springing, fresh from the word.
I'd like to invite Maggie Worsley and Frank Lenz up to light our chalice this morning. And as they do, we open our hearts to hear these words. As surely as we belong to the universe, we belong together. We gather here to move beyond ourselves as we connect and reconnect with others. It is good to be together, for it's in our connections with one another that we come to know ourselves more fully, and in that way, to be more at home here on earth and more open to the gifts that this day brings, and the gifts that we bring to those that we walk beside. How loved we are and how loving we can be. We are awash in the tender regard of the unseen. Let's stand and sing together our anthem, Spirit of Life, and then we'll recite our covenant together.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea. Move in the land, giving life the shape of justice. Loose, hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. When day are warm, llenas a mí. Young corazón, dale tu compasión. Sopla mi amor sobre el mar, hasta moldear la justicia de la vida. Ahora libérame, fuente del amor, ven a mí, ven a mí.
And the words to our covenant are printed in your order of service, but we also have them on the screen. And please be seated after we read this together and we listen to the choir. We affirm that love is the greatest purpose of this congregation. The search for truth is our constant star, and service is our prayer. We pledge our hearts, minds, and hands to challenge injustice with courage, to make choices for a healthier planet, and to live out our Unitarian, Universalist values every day as beloved community. And thus do we covenant with each other and with all that is sacred in life.
Good morning, everybody. Today's wisdom tale is called Hopper's Easter Surprise, and it's by Kathrin Siegenthaler. And you can see the cover here. I wonder what it's going to be about. Hopper was sitting in his hollow thinking, "Will I always be an Arctic hare, Mama?" he asked. "Of course," said his mother with a smile. "You'll grow bigger and stronger, but you'll always be a hare." "I wish I could be another animal once in a while," said Hopper, leaping nimbly over his mother's back. "I want to fly like the birds." "That would be fun," said his mother, "but I'm afraid you can't. Just think of what hares can do, though. No other animal can leap or turn somersaults as well as you." Hopper followed his mom to the edge of the high plains and gazed down into the valley below. "Do all hares look alike, Mama?" Hopper asked. "I hope not. I don't want to look like all the others." "You don't look like all the others. One of your ears has a beautiful blue tip, and when summer comes, your fur will turn brown, and you'll look more like the hares who live down there. The Easter Bunny has brown fur, too." "The Easter Bunny? Who's he?" "The Easter Bunny is someone very special. I've heard many wonderful stories about him. They say he can run faster than the wind, and when he ducks down into a hollow or hides in the undergrowth, not even the falcons with sharp eyes can find him. That's why no one has ever seen him." What else do they say about him, Mama?" asked Hopper eagerly. "He is very brave. Neither the fox nor the wolf frightens him, and every year at Easter he collects eggs from the hen houses and cleverly carries them home. Then he decorates the eggs and hides them for children to find. There, now I've told you everything that I know." "I want to be the Easter Bunny," cried Hopper, rushing away. But after a few moments he stopped. Just how do you become an Easter Bunny? He wondered. Let me think. What did Mama say? You have to be brave, and you mustn't be afraid of the fox. So Hopper went bounding through the forest looking for a fox. At last he found one. The fox was sleeping in a hollow log. He had expected the fox to be more dangerous than this. Fast asleep, it looked quite harmless. If only Mama could see how brave he is being, thought Hopper. Suddenly the fox leaped out and tried to grab Hopper. He had picked up the scent of the hare's scent from a long way off and was only pretending to be asleep. Hopper just managed to jump out of the way. He turned a quick somersault and ran for his life. Hopper raced into a thick clump of long grass and crouched down as low as he could. He was out of breath and his heart was pounding. He certainly couldn't run faster than the wind like the Easter Bunny. But hiding was good enough, and the fox gave up looking for him and trotted away. "Oh dear, it's hard work being an Easter Bunny," sighed Hopper. He crept quietly out of the long grass and hopped into a meadow. Hopper couldn't believe his eyes. A brown hare was sitting right in front of him. "Hello," said the brown hare. "Hello," said Hopper shyly. "Are you the Easter Bunny?" "The Easter Bunny? Who's that? I'm just an ordinary hare." "That's a pity," said Hopper. Then he told the brown hare everything he knew about the Easter Bunny. "I want to be an Easter Bunny myself," he added. "What a great idea," said the brown hare. "Come on, let's go over to the hen house. It can't be that hard to carry a few eggs." Once inside, the two young hares explained to the hens that they wanted to be Easter bunnies and needed some eggs. "Of course you can have some," cackled a kindly hen. "Here, take these, one for you and one for your friend. But mind you, don't drop them. Don't worry, we'll be careful." "Thanks." "Come on," said Hopper. "Let's take these back to my mama. She's sure to know the best way to decorate them." They walked very carefully, but the climb up the high plains was much harder than they had expected. Just before they reached the top, disaster struck. Hopper took a tumble, and the brown hare tripped over him. Both of the eggs were smashed. Hopper's mother tried to comfort them when they got home. "Don't be sad, children," she said. "While you were away, someone brought a present for you." Hopper and his friends stared at the beautiful white egg tied with a red ribbon. Is it from the Easter Bunny? Asked Hopper. Yes, it is, said his mother. He thought you might like to decorate it yourself. You're very tired now, but in the morning, I'll show you how to paint it. Then the brown hair curled up close to Hopper, and soon they were both fast asleep, dreaming of all the lovely patterns they could paint on their special Easter egg. Yeah. And now, if any of the children who are going to go down to our classroom with us, Max, I saw you back there, could come up and get the chalice. All the other kids are already down there, excited to play and decorate some eggs. And you guys can sing us out. Thank you.
Have fun. We'll see you for the hunt later. How cute. We all tend to sit a bit taller in our chairs when we take just a moment to envision our identity as a spiritual community whose mission calls us to service, justice, spiritual growth, education, and fellowship. We are committed to be a people to whom good stewardship matters, here at home and in the world. And one way that we live out that mission is to share half of our offerings that are not dedicated to annual pledges with an organization that aligns with our mission and our values. For the month of March and on this last Sunday during Women's History Month, our Share the Plate has been gathered as a contribution to the ICUUW, the International Convocation of UU Women. I invite those in the sanctuary to now come forward with your generous offerings and your gifts to the food bank at Inland Valley Hope Partners. It is with deep appreciation for the many gifts of this community that our offerings will now be gratefully given and received. Thank you, Lily. So beautiful. As a church family and a community, we like to share the things that are weighing us down and lifting us up. And one way that we do that is to share our joys and concerns during our Sunday service. We have these little yellow papers that we keep in the back. So I invite, and we also use the chat box for our online visitors that might want to ask that something be read to the congregation. I have several difficult ones today. So I think I'll share the difficult one first. And one way to submit them too is to text the minister. The family is asking that donations be made in Lorna's name to the American Cancer Society. We have envelopes that Brenda put together with the, we ordered some from the American Cancer Society, but it takes a little while for them to get to us. But we have some on the table back there that are already made up, and you can put a donation in those. Just take one with you if you wish. We won't be putting these donations through the church. We'll be just asking you to make your own donations privately. Another really hard one is that our loved mascot, Sophie's boyfriend, Irie, crossed over peacefully on the rainbow path early Wednesday morning. So we're holding Debbie and Katie really tenderly, and we've dedicated this beautiful Easter lily that we have here on the altar for not just Irie, but Debbie asked that it be placed there on behalf of anyone who has lost a pet. And we love the synchronicities of this. Ray is here. It's good to have you with us, Ray. And his joy is my beloved cat, Lasker, passed away on my bed last Tuesday. And the last one I share is neither a joy or a concern. I think it holds both beautifully. It's a poem that Julie Steinbach sent to me. It was part of another publication that she received this week. It was shared at Pilgrim Place, and it was in a document called Holy Week of Gaza. The title of this poem is If I Must Die, and it's written by Rifat Al-Arir. If I must die, you must live to tell my story, to sell my things and to buy a piece of cloth and some string. Make it white with a long tail, so that a child somewhere in Gaza, while looking heaven in the eye, awaiting his dad who left in a blaze and bid no one farewell, not even to his flesh, not even to himself, sees the kite, my kite that you made, flying up above, and thinks for a moment that an angel is there, bringing back love. If I must die, let it bring hope. Let it be a tale. For all of these shared sorrows, and those that remain in the quiet rooms of our hearts, you're invited to come forward and light a candle. We close this part of our liturgy with a little mention of deep gratitude for the beautiful flowers that we do have up here on the altar today. Lynn Maria put these gorgeous tulips into this vase with all the carrots. So it's just, if you get a chance, come up and take a look at it after the service. It's really adorable. Thank you. And the lilies that we have here, not just the ones dedicated to our beloved pets, but these are from the home of Bob Taylor and Megan Gallagher. Aren't they beautiful? So beautiful. I invite you to join me in a spirit of prayer and meditation. These words were something I wrote after being inspired by the words of Perdita Finn. Today I pray for resurrection of the great forests and the old trees, of the colonies of bees, of deep black dirt, of rivers and oceans and streams and polar ice caps. I pray for the resurrection of devotion to listening, of hearing the voices of birds and the wisdom of stones, and to the voice of our hearts and the hearts of our companions. I pray for the resurrection of the body that struggles to be well again, for its bones that need knitting, and its joys so often kept to a minimum. I pray for the resurrection of the earth and my place in it. I pray to be caught and rescued from my discontent by the gentle breeze, a tender reminder that what cannot be seen is still present, and if we tend to it, it can be felt and resurrected. Let's remain seated as we sing our gentle song for today. Sometimes we sing this one loud and boisterous. I think it kind of can be stretched to fit our mood, but let's sing it in a prayerful way if we could. Please, song number 100, I've Got Peace Like a River. Our reading today is called Heartwarming Things, and it's from Donna Becker. A children's social worker once posed a question to a group of 4 to 8-year-olds, asking them, what does love mean? The answers they got were broader and deeper and more profound than anyone expected or could have imagined. We'll share them. When my grandmother got arthritis, she couldn't bend over and paint her toenails anymore. So my grandfather does it for her all the time, even when his hands got arthritis too. That's love. When someone loves you, the way they say your name is different. You just know that your name is safe in their mouth. Love is when you go out to eat and give somebody most of your French fries without making them give you any of theirs. Love is what makes you smile when you're tired. Love is when mommy makes coffee for my daddy and she takes a sip before giving it to him, just to make sure it tastes okay. Love is what is in the room with you at Christmas, and if you stop opening presents and just listen, you can hear it. Love is like a little old woman and a little old man who are still friends, even after they know each other so well. During my piano recital, I was on the stage and I was scared. I looked at all the people watching me and I saw my daddy way in the back waving and smiling. He was the only one doing that, but I wasn't scared anymore. Love is when mommy sees daddy all smelly and sweaty and still says he's handsomer than Robert Redford. Love is when your puppy licks your face even after you left him alone all day. Debbie. When you love somebody, your eyelashes go up and down and little stars come out of you. Love is when you tell a guy that you like his shirt and then he wears it every day. If you want to learn to love better, you should start with a friend who you say that you hate right now. We gather today in the midst of an incredibly rich and deeply meaningful time of year. Our skies are providing us moments of awe with extraordinary rains and no leaks in our roof. Can we just say yes? Thank you to everyone that helped us to get that fixed. But also, we make note of the beautiful eclipses of both the moon and the sun. We find ourselves simultaneously soaking in the energies that come from the times of Lent, Ramadan, Ostara, and today Easter, and with Passover just ahead of us, beginning at sunset on April 22nd. There are pearls within each of these events, and we do well to find them and add them to our own collections of rich life lessons. The season of Passover keeps alive the stories that were lived out by the Israelites, pressed and held captive by the Pharaoh until they were finally freed to begin their journey to the Promised Land. The journey out of Egypt for the Israelites was a trek that took them into a deeper experience of joys and sorrows, a journey they may not have survived without the community that they built and the ways they relied on one another as they traveled. The Christian Holy Week is also a powerfully emotive time filled with deep sorrow that is then healed by great joy. Maybe some of you were taught to keep silent for 3 hours. It begins at noon on Good Friday. In my Catholic upbringing, we were also expected to mark that time that we believed Jesus was on the cross by sitting in silence. And I can easily touch back into those feelings of frustration, trying to understand the purpose of this very long ritual as a child. But what felt like punishment then was intended to be an experience of reverence. But somehow, with little instruction and maybe just a twinge of fear, we followed the expectations of our parents, and more reflective during those hours, until Easter morning when we woke to a spirit of joy and all of the symbols of a restored life that included a search for our Easter baskets and then heading off to Mass in a set of brand new church clothes. For the girls, it was an Easter bonnet with an elastic string under the chin, white gloves, and a purse to match our new patent leather Easter shoes. The boys usually had new shoes too, and a clip-on necktie that were only worn for the pictures. But in those days, for many of us, this holiday of restored life had a focus on being well-dressed, enjoying delicious food, and spending the day with family that was so very exciting. And in many families today, it still is. And while the Christian celebration of Jesus' resurrection at sunrise on Easter morning isn't our teaching, there's a gift within it, in that metaphor, that can renew our hope and give us visions of a transformed life for us too. And we might agree, we need it. It's okay to say that we need it, especially in these days that feel so very difficult in so many ways. But our gift from the Easter story is to choose the experience of a restored life and to expect transformation, to hold a vision that opens the way toward the best future for all of us and those who will come, to make the choices to be our best selves, to look up and not down, listen and truly hearing, not plugging our ears, to smell the flowers, not passing them by, feel deeply, rather than numbing ourselves with anger and apathy and judgment and supremacy and disregard. Because we are caring people who care for ourselves and for one another. We covenant to care so that not one of us grows weary looking for restoration, resurrection, or transformation. Instead, the vision that we hold for transformation in our lives is a spirit of resurrection that is rich with meaning for us all. We are at a threshold where we're being asked to decide our vision. Can we hold visions of transformation that heal and bless the past and hold steady in the present and open the way to a very precious future? Can we envision the transformation that will come and strengthen what is true in this world, filled with AI and lies from every authority that we were always taught we could trust? Can we say yes to a shared vision where love is central, change is constant, and resurrection is needed at least once an hour, it seems? The history of this congregation is filled with transformation stories, and we hold those to undergird our vision through the changes that come. And just as our ancestors led the way, our own shared vision for the ways that we will stay not only sustainable, but relevant and vibrant will bring our descendants into a healthier and a happier faith in their lives. We dedicate ourselves to this journey as Unitarian Universalists together, knowing that our shared lives will continue to enhance and restore our souls, and we will increase the capacity of our visions for a transformative justice to serve the world, to strengthen our community, and to deepen our own spiritual growth, to grow into who we really are. So this morning I want to respond to that with the story. It's not my story, but it was one that was shared by Reverend Dr. John Burens, one of the past presidents of the Unitarian Universalist Association. It may not be an easy story to hear, but it tells how vision can transform a life. It's a story about his friend, a man named David. During the summer, a few years ago, as he was crossing the street while visiting a city on business, David was shot in the back by 3 young teenagers. He survived the attack, but the bullet severed his spinal cord and left him paralyzed from the waist down. He was just 42, a husband, the father of 2 children, and one who loved his work as an editor and who cared for each and every one of his authors. Soon after he began to heal from the shooting, he was brought to a rehab hospital to begin the hard work of adjusting to life in a wheelchair. One day, while Reverend Burens was visiting him, a rehabilitation psychologist came in to make an assessment of what he might need to help him find his way toward a new life going forward. One question the psychologist had for him was to try to assess his anger. David replied that he didn't feel very much anger and that although he was devastated, he knew he had the hope and caring support of his congregation, his friends, and most of all, his family. He told the therapist that he was glad to be alive and that he had no real hatred toward the kids who had done this to him. David turned to John and shared that he actually had a deep curiosity about what had happened in their lives that made them so angry and cruel and violent. And then he wondered aloud, should I be angry? Would that help me in my recovery? No, said the psychologist to David, that probably wouldn't help you at all. You're a very unique patient to have this mindset. You'll do much better in the long run because you have felt connected to others, to your family, friends, your job, and the world. It is usually the patients who feel disconnected and angry that lose their capacity to care if they get well or not. Their hatred towards their attacker consumes them and makes them heal much slower or not at all. Reverend John agreed. And as he stood to leave, he shared the words of Catholic theologian Henry Nouwen, who said, "The friend who cares makes it clear that whatever happens in the external world, simply being present to each other is what really matters." David wipes his misty eyes and told them both that he wanted to share something that he had read several times every day. He reached into the drawer on his side table and he pulled out a piece of paper. On it was written a poem that his wife had copied for him in those first days, just after the shooting, when they first learned that he would not die from his injuries, but he would need a lot of love to heal. She gave it to him to inspire his vision and in their time of excruciating transformation. It's called Dying Slowly by Pablo Neruda. You start dying slowly if you don't travel, if you don't read, if you do not listen to the sounds of life, if you do not appreciate yourself and love who you really are. You start dying slowly when you kill your own self-esteem and when you don't let others help you. You start dying slowly if you become a slave of your habits, walking every day on the same path. If you do not change your routine, if you do not wear different colors, or you do not speak to those that you don't know. You start dying slowly if you avoid feeling passion and turbulent emotions, those which make your eyes glisten with tears and your heart beat a bit faster with love. You start dying slowly if you do not change your life when you're satisfied with your job or with your love. If you do not risk what is safe to choose instead the uncertain, if you do not go after a dream, if you do not allow yourself at least once in your lifetime to run away from sensible advice. Amen. So may we, together, hold tight to our own visions of transformation and learn to pass swiftly through the many troubling things that are coming, so as to be richer in those that abide, with the beauty that lives within loving kindness, the transmutation of suffering into understanding love, and the changes that will always come. Yet if we can welcome them deeply enough, we'll resurrect our lives to our vision. May it be so. Amen, and blessed be. I'd like everyone to stand now, and we will sing together our sending song, My Life Flows On, also known as How Can I Keep From Singing? Let's read our unison benediction together as we extinguish our chalice together and extinguish our chalice flame. May we take its light with us into the world and remember to keep love at the center and be kind, be brave, be just, be merciful, be hopeful. For when we do, we are living our UU faith in a broken world. Lily?